Yes.
yesterday when somebody sent me a link to a couple of tea houses near Lake Louise in Canada, and you literally like they're off grid. You have to hike in to get to them, and they're
Wow.
just
I've done that.
yeah. Is it good? Are they amazing?
I mean, it was a long time ago, and it was before I was into tea. It's just when I was into hiking, but it was really fun. I remember it being a fun experience because after you hiked for a long time, then you end up at this really cool place, kind of in the middle of nowhere. But unfortunately, I wasn't really into tea back in those days, so I can't tell you anything about the tea. But the hike was really fun.
And the whole experience was just like I could just see that being a magical experience because we love to hike and we love to go and be outdoors and that kind of stuff. And yeah, visiting some like beautiful rad tea house
It was cool.
halfway through my hiking day just sounds like the best. Get your butt off of me.
She's just agreeing with you, Sam. She says, let's go hiking.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what prompted this. That I'm sure everybody's got amazing tea houses that they would either like to visit or they've already built in their head.
Yeah.
So how are we going to build this kind of house?
I'm a firm believer that the more detail and story in the stories that we talk about and the stories that we tell, that's how things come to fruition. That before you do something, you have to say, I am going to do this. And the more detail you put into that, the more likely it is that you'll manifest it.
Right, of course. That's why narrative it's an amazing way of literature because it's very descriptive. I love reading in that way because they describe. Sorry, they describe the room, the lighting, the colors of the curtain, the sun into the window. Yeah, I agree with you.
So what about you? Is there any tea houses? Have you seen pictures of tea houses anywhere that you would love to visit?
There's a tea house in China where you have to walk into a tiny bridge into the mountains and rocks, and it's like climbing. And at the end, at the top of the mountain, there's this tea house. I would love to go there, but like pictures, I don't know. I think thematics it's interesting.
You think what? I'm sorry.
Like themes.
Themes.
See, yes.
Okay. So what themes?
I don't know. Maybe. Like the classic one, like Alice in Wonderland. But I would like a Alice in Wonderland, like the book, like the classic one. It would be a good idea for me. I don't know.
What element of it? Like the silliness of it, or kind of like the puzzle part of it, or
maybe the craziness.
Okay.
Or something. I don't know. Themes. My idea. Like I don't know if it classifies as a tea house, but it was for a moment when I was having one of my tattoos, and it is a tea leaves, and it says Ichigo Ichie. And while my tattooer was doing it, we started drinking green tea the whole session. So it was a fun party.
So you're basically saying you want a tattoo artist in your tea house.
will be great. I'm going tattoo on Saturday, this Saturday. And of course I will bring tea. Of course.
Oh, that's so
Because
fun.
it's a tattoo, it's a team tea tattoo team.
Wait, they just do tea tattoos?
No, all my tattoos are
okay.
tea.
Okay. All right. Well,
So
I
I
mean,
think it will be a nice or a new experience for the tattooer to have tea, and I can explain about tea while he's tattooing.
that's a good idea. So yeah,
So I would love
they know the essence that you're trying to capture in your art.
I would love a tattoo artist in a team.
Hi, everyone.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi, Mafalda.
Well, that's
you
cool.
mentioned
Hello.
about,
That's unique.
you mentioned about Alice in Wonderland. This wasn't really a tea house, but I was in a garden in England in October and November, like a stately home kind of place, and they had the entire Alice in Wonderland tea party theme in the garden made out of plants. You know, they clipped the hedge to make it look like animals and things. Topiary. I think that's the word. And they had this entire big, huge tea table, and all the characters, the Mad Hatter and Alice and everybody, they're all made out of bushes. It was really cute. But
Yeah, it's a cute team. There's this lady in Mexico. She started trading. She was the first one trading tea to Mexico, and when her enterprise got 25-year-olds, I think. She made a great party and she invited me. It was an Alice in Wonderland theme party. It was great. It was very fun.
that's fun.
I also totally love, of course, Japanese tea houses. They are so simple, but it's very beautiful to describe.
Peaceful. Now, would you have that as like a separate aspect of your tea house, to create that respectful and quiet and peaceful space, or would you try to find a way to kind of bring the craziness into it?
Into the Japanese tea house,
Yeah.
definitely not, because it's not the place for it. But there are different things in a Japanese tea house. Maybe a formal ceremony can be very respectful and meditative, but there's something else we can do, like a outside tea ceremony, and that can be a little bit irreverent, maybe. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. So,
But
cool.
Not the tattooer into the Japanese tea house.
Well, what if they did like the traditional Japanese tattoos?
Oh, I think they won't go together because Japanese, they really, really link tattoos with Yakuza.
Yeah.
Even if you are not Japanese. When I used to go to my tea classes, I always cover my arms.
Yeah.
And once, and I use a training kimono just for the class. And sadly, this day specifically, I was wearing a tank top, and I forgot my training kimono. And that day, the father of my sensei, a really old-fashioned man, was leading the class. He was almost killing me with his eyes.
Yeah.
Like, what is this person doing here? And when I started doing the ceremony, I was shaking just because of his eyes. They are very intimidating. And I was the one supposed to be a Yakuza. Yeah. Fun experiences. So
Nice.
definitely not a tattoo artist in a Japanese tea house.
But now you can just go make your own tea house with a tattoo studio in.
Will be great.
Yeah, but what about when you invite your senseis over?
The young one, my young one, sensei, he could understand.
He's cool with it.
Probably when in classes, when I pierce my hand, he asked me to always put a bandit on it. Just for classes, just for practicing, not even presentations or going to museums or something.
Wow.
But they're the same with any sort of jewelry when it comes to
anything. Mm-hmm.
It's not just like here, but they do have a very skewed view of tattoo people still. I mean, it's improving in the major cities because there's the foreigners, and immediately you're for a foreigner. You know, it kind of is like a status thing. It was like, oh, if they do it, it might be okay. But yeah, it's still very much frowned upon. Even in the bathhouses. If you
Yes.
bathhouses and you have tattoos, that's
I could into a bathhouse in Tokyo. They accept tattooed people, but in Kyoto, it was totally forbidden.
That's too bad. Those are the really nice bathhouses.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. The repercussions of choices that we didn't know that we're going to go through.
Marco, is that a hand holding a gaiwan on your shirt?
It is, yeah.
That is awesome.
Hey, Marco's here. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're
Hi,
super
Marco.
cute.
Great.
I got it as a gift. Hi, Elise. How's
Good
everyone?
to see you. Good. Awesome.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you for hosting. This is cool. This is great. I didn't get to come to last week's. And Mafalda was like, hey, are you joining? I was like, oh, yeah, let's do it. So thanks.
So Dream Tea House, Mafalda. Where's the tea house that you have never been to but want to get to?
Well, I'm actually preparing to make this dream come true in a couple of years. We're going to do it in Europe, probably in Portugal, where I'm from, and is definitely going to be a modern tea house in the sense that it's going to be blending cultures and it's going to be blending traditions in a modern way, not in a pretentious or taking away from those traditions. I think that the tea house that we want is going to be called The Third Place, and that's because it's somewhere that is not your house and is not your work. It's a third place that you look forward to go to have gatherings, to build community. I want it to be a hub, not just for people that love tea, but also for like-minded people. So I want to run workshops there about permaculture or about art or about, having live music or having workshops where people learn how to fix things instead of just throwing them out. I want it to be a community hub, and to the tea to be used as a tool for connection and for engaging people from all different sorts of backgrounds. And because I'm doing it in Europe, it will be a very different style. I don't want to culturally appropriate anything in particular. I kind of want it to be a an honoring of all the traditions and all the cultures the way that I experience them, and my husband Brad experiences them. So that is the dream: is to build something that creates community, creates change, and improves the world.
Sounds great.
Let me
Yeah,
know.
we've been thinking a lot about it. Sorry?
Let me know when I can come visit.
You will definitely know. Like, even as soon as we decided that this would be, like, we always had that vision of one day doing it. And after the pandemic hit, we were like, I think this is the reset button that we needed to just put everything into perspective and what is really important and how long are we willing to wait to make our dreams come true. So we decided, instead of getting there slowly, let's just bunker down and do whatever we need to do to make that happen faster. And yeah, it's exciting. But I have lots of people from all over the world already, like, wanting to come over and help me build it, like physically, with their hands, which is great. And since I've been talking to people about moving back to Portugal, so many of my friends from all different nationalities in all different countries, they're like, yeah, we're thinking about moving to Portugal too, which for me is crazy because, 15 years ago or 20 years ago, every time that I said I would come Portuguese, people were like, is that like a colony or an island from Spain? It's like, no, it isn't. No.
Mm-hmm.
It's the 1400s. It's fine.
Do you have a particular city in Portugal that you envision your tea house being in?
I love my hometown. I think that I grew to love it even more since I moved out of the country when I was 20. It's a very romantic, mystical place. It's very medieval. It grew very slowly. So in Lisbon, you have downtown Lisbon, the capital, and everyone loves it because it's so ancient and the architecture is just amazing, and hand-painted tiles and things like that. But then you go to the outskirts of Lisbon and it's all, concrete jungle. You could be in anywhere in Europe or anywhere in the world. But in Porto, because it was the second biggest city, it grew organically. So the whole city is the old city. And you have
in Porto?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you have
I love Porto.
You have like the port wine boats coming down the river with the big barrels of port wine, still like to maintain the tradition. There's a few of them. So, well, there we go. That's what I grew up, and you kind of take it for granted. And then when I started traveling around Europe and around the world, I realized that we were extremely lucky, that we were very attached to our own culture, our food. We were very insulated for a very long time, so we're very traditional, and I think that's why tourism has picked up so massively in the last 10 years or so, because people just discovered like this old Europe. And yeah, so it's hopefully we'll be able to open something downtown. If not, I have properties that I can turn into the tea house. So yeah.
When was the last time you lived there?
That I lived there?
Yeah.
I was probably like fully 19, because I moved from there to Brazil for a couple of years. Then I came back and moved to Barcelona, and then came back again just for a couple of months, and then moved to London to do my master's, and that's where I met my husband. And then I moved to Australia, where I'm currently.
Cool.
And that's been, I'm 34 now, so it's been a while.
That'll be a nice return.
Yes, my family is very excited. My family is over the moon by our decision, and they can't wait. They're already trying to buy furniture to furnish houses for us to live in. And it's like, there's no need. It's 2 years. It's fine. I'll buy my own furniture. Thank you very much. So did I miss someone? I know that we were talking about your tea house, the Japanese one. Did I miss anyone else?
No, Priscilla went first.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi,
All right, so
Chris. I see Chris came. I guess he's muted.
Yeah, and he's still working on getting his video on.
Okay.
What about you, Elise? You've traveled a lot and visited lots of tea houses.
Yeah.
Are there any on your list that you haven't made it to?
Of course. My friend Rebecca Yu in Taiwan has developed so many tea houses, and most of them are on private properties, so I'll never actually get to go to them unless somehow get an invitation. So yeah, Rebecca, she's amazing. She's in near Hsinchu, which is like the place where Oriental Beauty became famous. She's a tea house designer. That profession actually exists, and she's incredible. Like the space that she creates with tea is like, she's by far like the most elite tea artist that I know, and she's just like so fun and playful. She built a tea house, and these are all private commissions. You know, like wealthy people that love tea and want to have a tea house will like hire her to work with the architects to design the space. And a lot of them, like this one in particular, it's up on top of a high beam in the middle of a lake. Like the beam is probably 40 feet in the air. I have no idea how you get into it. I think she says that they have to put a special ladder, but no one really goes into it. It's just there to be there. It's like this unattainable, peaceful space, completely isolated. Beautiful. But like realistically, I have a dream house that, tea house that I'd like to make, inspired by all the cool spaces that I have been in. A lot of my visions are more like infrastructure related. Like I've already created the space as far as like culture and community of a tea house here, right here where I am, the next room over. We have huge parties and, workshops and different, members of the community that come together and teach and share and collaborate. And of course we drink tea the whole time. But, my dream would be that there's a friggin' fresh out of the earth, like as part of the infrastructure of the house, that's just like streaming water when we need it. And
it might as well already be boiling, right?
If it's a hot spring, that'd be kind of cool. Like earth brewed tea. Oh my gosh.
Wow. It's all you.
You remember, Sam, that tea house that we went to? Oh my God, there were so many tea houses within that property. That kind of crazy aggressive guy from Beijing had developed that property with all the old trees in Nanoshan.
Yeah, like with the angry monkeys.
Yeah. Oh yes. Can't forget the angry monkeys.
Sounds lovely.
It was such a weird place because this guy was like, his intention was to create this like incredible, like deeply rooted, peaceful tea escape, which he did. He successfully created that space, but like his energy and the energy of those monkeys, which were his pets, was like the opposite of it. He was like super aggressive, like straight to business, chain smoking cigarettes. And this like gorgeous space in the friggin' jungle, like with all these different tiers of like bungalows for sleeping in. Like it was like a eco lodge type of a thing. But the thing that like I remember the most from that experience was like the main lobby area had that tea table that had the water running through it.
That's what I used for the picture on the Facebook post in Gung Fu Cha.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Yeah.
That's
so that table was a little plastic and a little cheesy. Like if I was to create something like that, I'd want like the water that's flowing through that table to be like from a spring. And, that's how you fill your kettle. It's just like you fill it directly from the table right there, just constantly flowing from the earth. And then of course a big fire pit, cause like I just want it to be a hangout. Big like fire pit in the center and like a fire play area and smokers, so we can constantly be, you know, like cooking food when we need to. Pizza oven. I don't know. I'm not picky.
I am dead. Just let me know.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my dream tea house.
And it's got to have better tea than that place.
Oh yeah, yeah. That place was such a contradiction. I mean, that place was so dreamlike for like thinking about the actual like architecture and design of a Zenful tea space, and like yeah, it was just so cool. It was like tiered.
I'm pulling up pictures right now.
Oh, you are cool. Yeah, it had like all these different like play areas, you know, meditation spaces, and the bungalows just had like an endless view of all the ancient tea trees going through the mountain. Yeah, that place was incredible. But the guy was kind of a dick that owned it.
Where was this?
It was in Nanoshan. And
how long did you guys go there?
Oh, we just like went for a little visit. You know, we had just heard about this new property that had been developed. And actually, Sam, I've heard later on that there are several other properties like that. Just a bunch of wealthy people from like Beijing or whatever, they're acquiring leases on the land with all the ancient trees and creating like ecotourism opportunities.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. I got pictures.
But you know, he was just so forceful. You know, it's like
not the right energy.
Not the right energy. I mean, I'm sure he spent a fortune to build this space. It was built in a very short period of time. But they had like a bunch of ancient trees there. Yeah, that was the table there. Yeah, so they had like water running in the middle of the table and all these different like.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? It's the one thing that money can't buy.
Right.
You know, like you can have money, you can want to do whatever, you know, like with your money, especially tea houses, which are also status driven. If you have enough money and you have so much that you have your own tea house in the property that is so luxurious as that. Mm-hmm. But then money can't really change your attitude.
Oh, those are the angry monkeys. Don't get too close. They will grab your hands and bite you. That's what the guy said. He was like, yeah, they'll grab your hands and pull your hand into the cage and bite you.
How big was the cage? Maybe that's why they were angry.
Well, yeah.
They're like, get me out of here.
But yeah, that's like an example of the bungalow. Those were like the bungalows. Yeah, that you could sleep in. There was all these like little housing units.
Wow!
Incredible views.
I would love to do that.
Right?
I would love to sleep into a tea house.
That's a great idea. I would love. Development is just, you know, when you have the wrong attitude, it kind of puts a bad spin into the whole thing, doesn't it? It's like, I would love to be here, except I don't want you to be my host.
Right.
Ooh, I remember that, Sam.
No.
Yeah, this was the barbecue that we did up on the mountain.
Not at a tea house at all. This is like a worker resting spot in the mountain. But that was good.
I feel like I missed out. I want to go on the next trip.
Yeah, come travel with us. Yeah, we do fun things.
Yeah, that was fun because we spent all day picking tea and then went back to like the shade spot and they're sitting there grilling food and making tea in the bamboo that they just cut down.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And like harvesting fresh herbs for us to eat with the cooked meats. You know, so simple. Like that's... if I have a kitchen in my dream tea house, like that's going to be as simple as it is. Like the opportunity to like easily do a barbecue like that or smoke, you know, some bacon if needed, you know, you never know when you need smoked bacon. But yeah.
We can definitely do smoke mates. You bring yours to my tea house, I'll bring mine to yours.
Cool. They're such a good tea snack.
Mm.
I would love to pick tea also in my tea house, in a dream tea house, to pick tea and to make some tea. And I think it probably could be done in the virtual tea house. Like with pictures, like this is the way that looks when you are picking tea. This is the way that it looks when you are withering or oxidating or something. And I don't know, maybe with pictures and a good description, and also people will learn about the steps of processing tea.
Yeah, that's part of my dream too. So my dream is having the tea house, but like the second part of it is whenever I build my own dream house, that will be a tea plantation and like almost like a lodge for people to be able to stay, where I could be processing tea for our own enjoyment, but also as an educational tool to experiment and do different things. And I really wanted to bring like different masters from different regions to do talks and to talk about how you process teas and how they do it in different regions, so people can have access to that knowledge, that experience, if they can't travel all the way to China, and also to build on like an archive of knowledge that you can always come back to. That is definitely part of the dream, and I'm very much influenced by Frank Lloyd Wright and Ray and Charles Ian in the way of designing the houses. So using natural materials, having a spring, even having like hydraulics to use the spring to pump water throughout the property, have like fish or like a way for you to use that fresh water for not just food, but also for tea, having like a whole aquaponics system where the fish would feed the plants will filter the water will be like squeaky clean for you to cook and to drink with. Like I really want it to be a really sustainable place using the most recent advances in technology and practices, but to make it in a beautiful, almost romanticized way for people to not see it as very clean cut. I like the coziness of wood and natural materials like stone. If you use that in construction, I just feel like it gives places a completely different feel.
Definitely.
So is this all possible in Portugal, in your hometown, or?
Yeah, the place, the property for us to build the dream home is definitely outside in the outskirts, but Porto is known as the Camellia Town. And so wherever the camellia grows, Camellia sinensis grows as well. And we have, the soil is perfect for it in terms of pH, acidity, everything. We have already some tea plantations there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited to see what the possibilities are. I mean, I would love to have a tea plantation, because I think that the more new places they are doing tea, the more terroirs that we have, the more different processes that we have, the richer the culture will be, and more people will be engaged with and wanting to try. So yeah, it's an exciting time. I can't wait. I mean, it's a lot of work, and I can see that. I just think that it will be the type of work that I would never be sick of. I would always find interesting. So yeah.
Anything worth doing is going to be a lot of work.
That's it. Never easy.
What about you, Sam? What about you?
I think anything we can do outside also. It's a nice idea. It's not actually a tea house, but it can become a tea house for a moment in February, because before the this pandemic thing start, I went to Peru, to the beaches of Peru, and we have tea next to the sea, and it's great. And I live very, very close to the Andes Mountains, and I love to have tea next to the mountains. And it's not a tea house itself, but it becomes a tea house for the moment that you are there.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like Elise said, it's very wabi-sabi, and it's tranquil, it's clean, it's, I don't know. It can be a tea house for a moment.
Love it.
What do you pack when you go out and make tea out in nature?
I choose a tea that can be brewed on low temperature, because water won't be will not be that hot. I pack like almost boiling water, like really, really hot, but it's going to get cool during the process. So I pack like green teas or white teas, or definitely matcha, because it can be done in any temperature.
Mm-hmm. But do you pack like your utensils? Do you have like a chashi set that you usually travel with?
Yes, I have a travel tea set. It's very simple. It's like an easy guy one and 2 cups, and it's like this.
It all sets together, and then it has like a zip
Yes.
bag.
And and it has a bag, so I put I separate tea and the bag and a therm with water.
Mm-hmm.
I do that too when we go bushwalking in Australia. One of the most beautiful things about Australia is the accessibility that nature has here, and you can just walk in the bush and for like a couple of hours, and they go to this beautiful waterfall or a secluded beach that has like quick, clean white sand. And when you walk on it, it goes because it's so fine, and the water is so clear. It's like that turquoise green and baby blues. Is just really beautiful. Whales. It's ridiculous. The nature here is definitely one of the selling points. And when we go to do tea in nature, is beautiful. When I traveled with tea, like right now, I came to Byron Bay to see my husband. I brought my whole set, and around, I think it's like 35 teas.
Oh, great.
I don't know what we're going to be in the mood for. And we hadn't had tea for so long, so I just pack them all.
This is mine. It's not that big. Mine is like just this. Let me show you. It's like this.
Oh yes, yeah.
So it's 1 cup, the other cup, and the easy guy one. It's very easy to carry, and this is the bag, and that's it for now.
Yeah, I have the ones that fit into these. It's just the Gandal Bay, the Guy one, and 2 cups.
I managed to figure out a setup that all fit onto the back of my tricycle in 2 milk crates. Because for Burning Man, I wanted to be able to like pop up and serve tea in like random places, and I went out to like one of the furthest places from any sort of infrastructure at Burning Man, way out in Deep Playa, where some friends built this amazing art piece, and we're doing a music show, and I popped up like right in front of the stage and like pulled out drop on. I had a stove with me. I had like 6 or 8 cups. I had 2 gallons of water. And we had like a 4-hour tea session in the middle of a massive dust storm. But we were inside a building. So everybody that was inside was just like super stoked.
I got married in Burning Man a while ago.
You got married what?
I got married in Burning Man a while ago, and that was the only thing that we were missing. Tea. So I was like, where were you? Not at the right.
I agree with that.
Where did you get married? Where did you guys have your ceremony or whatever you did?
So that year, I can't remember which year it was, like 2010. And that year, the theme of Burning Man was rites of passage, and we were with our group of friends, and we were thinking one of us would have to do some sort of ritual so we would be part of the theme and according to the rules, like to be really involved. And as we were getting into Black City, we were looking around, and there were some chapels, like full blown chapels, the almost like pop chapels, and people were performing weddings there, and you had access to rings, and there was these tents where you can exchange your clothes for wedding dresses. So there was like men dressed with like white dresses marrying their partners, and they were wearing the tuxedos. So it was super fun and irreverent, and we were like, okay, well, we'll get married on the last day. And we organized everything in the morning. Brad went and had his bucks. I went to have my hens. And as I walked into the tent to exchange my clothes, there was one dress left. And a friend of mine got it for me. There was someone already with it, like wanting to take it. And we're like, she's getting married. Do you mind giving us that dress? I'm really sorry. And she's like, are you really? And I was like, yes, I am. She gave me the wedding dress, and then we went on our bikes. And as I was going in, there was this camp that had the Chinese paper umbrellas everywhere, and there was a white one at the very top. And the guy stopped us and was like, are you getting married? And I was like, yes, I am. And he brought in the white one for me. So I was just, okay, everything was so serendipitous. It's just like my guy with white silk, like 20s kind of dress, and with a white little umbrella, sun umbrella. And we got there to the chapel that were supposed to have the wedding, and they packed up. There was no more chapel. And I'm like, what are we going to do? And next to it, there was this Western style bar called the Wet Spot. And we got married there, and they set up the whole thing. They had fresh beer from kegers, like in the middle of the desert. To have fresh beer, that's a luxury. So we got married there, and yeah, it was pretty awesome. And then 5 years later to that day, we actually got married in Portugal.
Oh, cool. So your Burning Man marriage.
You have to invite us. Sorry, go ahead.
Your Burning Man marriage was like a spontaneous thing.
It was, yeah.
Cool.
But it was really full of love, and afterwards it kind of felt like that is it. We're married. We just need to make it official. Eventually, we'll just invite our families.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it was lots of fun. Loved it.
That's such a great story. Thank you, Mafalda.
There was far less tea at Burning Man in 2011 than there is now, Sam. Now there's so much tea at Burning Man. I think the program has like 24 listed tea experiences, and there's a dozen more. Like the one Sam was talking about, just wheeling tea out in the middle of the playa and serving.
That would be so cool to engage with people like that, like so. And you would definitely find open-minded people to just out of the blue, just, what are you doing? Can we join? Can we sit down?
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome.
Well, you know,
Serving-
it's kind of gotten to the point of culture within that community, especially like the regular burners that go every year. They're very familiar with the experience of Gung Fu Cha. It's very common now than it was when I first started going. Now people are like, oh yeah, I know Ranjan. I sat with him and drank tea with him. Probably the most famous tea server, and you know, thank you to Ranjan for keeping that culture flowing for Burning Man. But now there's like so many tea houses, really cool tea houses there that get built. You know, because I donate tea to a lot of them, even if I never meet them or never get a chance to even go visit their tea house when I'm there, because it's just such an expansive, crazy experience that sometimes I don't get to go to all the tea houses. I definitely didn't get to go to yours, Sam. Like, we were totally playing, like, chase at Burning Man. We didn't get to see each other,
Yeah.
right?
The tea house that we provided the chai for, I think the day that it was supposed to be happening, it was like 200 degrees or something, and the people that were going to do it were like just not having it. So I don't even think that actually ended up happening, but I had fun, like, popping up. My serving tea eases my social anxiety because I feel like I don't have to go out and approach people. They come to me, and I am like in my safe place behind my tea set. And I get to show up and like serve people, and it just totally makes my social anxiety go away. So
Is that
I
because you're in
love.
control of the setting?
I'm sorry?
Is that because you're in control of the setting?
I think more than anything, I don't have to break the ice and start conversation. That once I'm like in conversation with people, it's not.
It's a great therapy. Let me tell you, it's a great therapy.
So yeah, for me to just be able to like have people coming to me, and I don't have to worry about approaching people and like trying to like establish connections. It's like it's more about opening myself to receive connection than have to go out and try and establish connection. Is just a much more comfortable position for myself to be in. So what I enjoy the quest and like the challenge of like popping up with a like full tea setup in the most like random and potentially most inconvenient places you could think of, and figuring out ways to make it work. That's just something that I myself thoroughly enjoy.
I will take your words, Sam, and about the inconvenient places, and I will let you guys know next week how go the tattoo session with the tea drinking with the COVID precautions. So I don't know how am I going to do it, but
Are you you're gonna put like a tea sipping flap in your mask or something?
I don't know. I don't know how is he going to tattoo me. He's going to have this, this suit, the astronaut suit, or he's going to wear the mask. Of course, I will wear my mask, but my mask is like a Katrina one, like the Mexican Day of Death. That's the mask I have, and I have to talk to him about the precautions he's going to take, but definitely we will have to drink some tea. Yeah. I know. I would like he knows what he's going to do, what he's going to tattoo.
I've seen a funny meme where there was people drinking Gung Fu, and everyone had a really long straw coming out of their masks and like into their cups, and there was like several of them coming out of the tea tray. and everyone is wearing a mask and like a visor.
It's
Yeah,
so
like-
great.
Funny.
Drinking tea in the future, and I was like, it's not the future, it's right now. It's like this is right now. This is how
It's
we're
going
doing
to be a challenge. It's
Yeah.
going to be a challenge for future.
What about you,
Ali?
Chris? You've been very quiet so far. Do you have any dream tea houses that you have made up in your head or want to visit?
Well, actually, I'm from Mexico, so we don't have like too many like a tea culture over here. But I started drinking a little bit of tea when I moved to England for some time. And when I came back to Mexico, I was looking for a business, something like that. So I decided to, I found some suppliers of tea, and I opened a small tea room. So since then, I've been like looking for a lot of information. Unfortunately, I had it only for 4 months because of the lockdown, so I had to close it. I'm kind of new in the tea rooms, but I came to see what I can learn because I really love tea. I don't know, I drink a lot of tea all day.
Chris, Chris, in what city of Mexico do you live?
I live in Toluca.
Because I lived in Mexico for 8 years. I just came back to Ecuador, where I live now, and I know many tea people in Mexico.
Oh,
If
yeah?
you want, I can give you some contacts, schools when you can learn. They are giving classes in Mexico City now, and they have very nice tea houses. Actually, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we are having Noches de Té en Mexico. It's you can follow later in my Instagram profile, so you can start to know people in Mexico who are making tea.
Oh, that could be
And
great.
they are sending you can buy some tea, they send you to your home, and you can have classes, live classes and stuff. They are doing great stuff, and they are very nice people.
Oh,
I
that
can
sounds great.
introduce you to them. So contact me. I will type for you my tea profile, so you can give me a like or follow me, and
Yeah, sure.
I can give you all the information.
That could
So
be
don't
great.
feel this alone.
Thank you very much, Priscilla.
Culture in Mexico, tea culture in Mexico is growing.
Yeah,
I miss
definitely.
them.
Right now,
They are-
I know
they-
it's growing.
They are good friends of mine. I really miss them.
All
I
right.
will type for you my profile.
All right. Thank you very much, Priscilla.
Oh, that's great.
Tea
Chris,
culture
how
everywhere.
did you get introduced to this experience?
To the tea experience.
To
Yeah.
this exact one, this Tea Talks, this Zoom room. that we're
Okay.
in.
Yes, I just I was looking for information on internet and I came across the
Cool.
talks.
Tea Talks.
Yeah,
that's
so I
good
just sent
SEO. Awesome.
I just sign in and I received the email. I think from Sam. Yes.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, I sent out an email. I think it was earlier this morning.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I'm learning how to use my email system now.
Well, welcome.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's
welcome,
great.
Chris.
It's
Thank
great
you.
to participate in this kind of chat.
Yeah,
People
Yes,
also
it's
love-
really fun.
Yeah, we do it every week. So cool. Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
So
with
you
us.
normally have like a different topic every week?
Yeah.
That's the idea, and we never, very rarely do we stay on topic. We always try to come back to it, but the places that we go in the process, it's more about everybody connecting and having fun together.
It's an organic conversation.
All right.
And drinking tea, of course.
Drinking tea. All right. That's perfect.
Talking about contact, Lise, do you mind writing in the chat room the contacts for your friend Rebecca? I would love to see what kind of tea houses she made.
Oh, I love that too.
Yeah, I'll put her.
I already chat the addresses to you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you very much. And
Okay.
looking at
More
them
than
now.
welcome.
Rebecca is most active on Facebook, so I'll put her Facebook page.
We can pull it up and screen share.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
We can just screen share Perv out for a minute.
Yeah. I mean, even if you just scroll through her timeline, it's just like, what kind of tea life do you live? She's amazing. She's
Let's
always like eating and cooking good food and drinking good tea. She harvests tea like just in her backyard. Yeah.
The life,
Yeah.
the dream.
And she just makes very small, batches by hand. Yeah, she's living a good life. I don't know. Sam,
Her
did you
job
want me to
sounds
do that?
dreamy.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me see if I can find specifically her tea houses.
I just made you a co-host, so you should be able to screen share.
Cool. Well, let me search for it
All right.
before I just throw you guys all into Rebecca's life, which, is a good life.
Yeah.
She's fun. She's Alfredo's teacher, like an old mentor of Alfredo Lane. That's how I met her. But I don't know her age. No one knows her age, but we all think she's 16. She has
Is
the
that like a
energy
secret?
and the soul of a 16-year-old. But I think she's much older than that.
But that's what tea does. It keeps
Yeah.
you young.
Keeps you young and active and energized.
What is the name of her page?
I put the
Tableware
link.
Design?
I put the link on the chat. It's just
I
her
already
personal. It's just her personal Facebook page. She doesn't manage like a business page. She's actually not in the tea business. She's just like a world-renowned tea house designer. So she just does it on her own. It's
As
just-
always, I cannot get it.
she's always traveling
I'm
around.
terrible with this.
She gets contracts mostly in China, just like wealthy
Wow.
people or wealthy organizations that want to, build a tea house. And she's very
And her
familiar.
name?
She's
Sorry.
very familiar with the different schools of tea ceremony and tea practice.
And her name is Rebecca with 2 C's.
Just one. The link I gave you, well, I guess it says 616 Arts. I guess that's what she calls her organization, but that's a personal Facebook profile.
It appears like teaware or tea or something.
Yeah, she's
I cannot, but I'm bad with technology.
yeah. Just ask to be her friend,
I cannot
and then you
her
can.
as Rebecca.
Yeah, Rebecca. Yeah,
I cannot even open it.
really?
You can? Oh, I didn't try it. I'll check.
It's
It works
opening.
fine for me.
Yeah, it's opening.
I cannot. Is it possible to type her name, please?
Yeah, it's just one C.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not being able to quickly find the photos of her tea house. She has so many photos. She's constantly posting. And she does a lot of live videos, and some of those, like, it's just like every live video she makes is like she's up to something. She's got like some museums in her, or musicians in her tea house, and they're playing like traditional instruments, or she's crafting something really cool, or making tea, of course.
I've seen some pictures go around on like Instagram or Facebook or something of like hyper modern minimalist design at like the top of skyscrapers with like just like walls of windows with amazing views, that always like the design aesthetic really kind of strikes me as like this. They've been like tatami mats with just like a really low but long table, and then cushions that have like a little bit of a back around them, and just like, yeah, kind of it looks like a hyper modern, super minimal design.
All right,
in
so there's
an urban setting that like really strikes me. I don't know if that's her work or not.
So let's see. And maybe it's not her work exactly. Maybe it's I just screenshot. You guys can see this.
Wow.
Okay. So this is just like the outside of one space. I don't know if this is her house, but she's definitely involved. And there's photos of her serving the tea. So that's her. That's Rebecca right there. It's all about lighting, you know. The lighting is so important in her spaces.
Lighting design is one of the most, like, it's outrageous how many times people don't pay attention to it, and it can really set and frame a whole experience just by the type of lighting they do.
Yeah, I mean, this is so minimalistic, but then, you know, the lighting just is just perfect, you know, for this simplicity.
Wow.
Yeah, such a nice space.
It's one of those things that people don't have the
Wow.
to
Yeah.
think of.
I don't even know what this space is, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, but those
That's
are the
one
kind
of
of
the space
projects
to
she
do.
gets like contracted to, like, you know, design the chachi and like work with the architects on the different elements that would make for the best tea house. So her stuff, you know, it can be minimalist and simple like that, but then it can also be like really rustic. Like her personal style, like her own tea house she has, which is right next to a famous temple that has a huge golden Buddha. So there's a lot of like tourists that come for that, and a lot of you know, monasteries around. Bye, Cindy. And that space is like extremely rustic and you know, really cute, and she, you know, collects a lot of things, and but the lighting is also really important there too. So yeah, don't
Yeah, I find dimming lighting just in general helps make spaces feel a little softer.
yeah.
And intimate. You can have a huge space, but the lighting brings you closer, and just like when it has like the soul focused on the tea tray, you don't see anything else around it. It's just the tea tray and that experience.
But the backlighting on a Zoom call is like definitely the way to go. Putting a big giant window right behind you.
Yep.
Right.
I don't have the space and anything else. Yeah, just a dark figure in front of this light box. You're like, yes, I come to conquer the world.
Would you like some tea?
I need like a cat. Somebody like petting the cat.
So this is another example of her serving tea. Oh my god.
Look how gorgeous that is.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful.
So much FOMO right now.
I give up. She already won the game. I give up.
Yeah, no, she definitely wins the game.
Well, the best way
He
is not to
said-
compete. The best way is to incorporate.
Right.
So let's
Right.
give her a call and be like, hey, Rebecca, what are you doing next weekend?
Yeah.
Come in to our great house with us.
Yeah. God, I just like, yeah, I wanna hang out in that space for sure and just zen out.
Where is she based?
She's based in Taiwan, near Hsinchu, which is it's not too far from Taipei. It's just southwest of Taipei. and it's where Oriental Beauty, that bug bitten tea, that famous bug bit, it's where that tea originated. And she's like old, long time family friends with the family that invented that tea. And that's the style of tea that she makes herself and collects herself. Like I drank like an Oriental Beauty from like 1964 in her tea room one night. That, you know, changed my life. So yeah, also if you have an interest in that type of tea, she can help introduce you to the right people. It is not cheap. None of her stuff is cheap. Like even to hire her as a consultant, it's not cheap, but she's the best, you know, and if I ever was to design a tea room or help someone design a tea room, I would definitely hire her and make sure that there's money in the budget for that. 'Cause that would, you know, make such a different experience in your tea house than, you know, just trying to do it yourself with your own aesthetic.
Yeah.
Not to say that
That's
there's wrong with your aesthetic, but this is like so unique art of design than, you know, conventional interior design.
That's awesome. I am very excited about getting to know her work.
Yeah, just friend her on Facebook. She's super friendly.
I already did.
It's good.
Yeah.
We have friends in common. I was like, I've never seen you.
Yeah.
Where have you been hiding?
Yeah, she's really connected. Well, because she's not a business person, so she's not actively, you know, trying to increase her contact list like all the other people are. But she's highly renowned and highly sought out, you know, by all types of tea people when they go to Taiwan.
It's going to be very funny because she's going to get like a whole bunch of friend requests. From
Like, what
around.
happened?
She's
Like,
cool.
oh, my name must have popped up somewhere.
Yeah, well, I'll tag her. I'll tag her in this, and I'll, you know, she'll be happy. She'll be proud. She actually
Yeah,
watches. She
probably
watches
get that.
these here and there, so she'll be happy to see that we mentioned her.
Probably
I
she will get curious to know that we are trying to design a virtual tea house, and we could keep having fun and telling experiences.
Yeah.
I love the idea of like using chashi as a design aesthetic and like extending chashi off of just the table and the implements that we use to make tea, extending that into the entire space.
Mm-hmm.
That when we think about designing space, when we think about space design, thinking about it in the same terms that we think about designing, or that we think about setting up our tea set.
Yeah.
I think that actually has a lot to do with like feng shui and the art of tea. You kind of have those elements too. You have the water. You have always like a nature, a piece of flowers or whatever around.
Art.
You have the heat of the fire. You have the earth, like the tea plants where they came out, the terroir, everything. I think that tea, you know, and the history that tea has with you know the Zen movement and things like that. I think that it's so perfect for that type of approach. Is the feng shui's chachi is like, yeah, tea sets the stage for the whole tea house, and that for me I think is the right approach.
Right. It matches.
It does.
goes
I mean,
with
it's the reason why she's, you know, world renowned and she's so sought after. And you know, like I would be charging too for that sort of experience and that knowledge.
Yeah. Jeremy, what about you? What's your dream tea house?
It's interesting. I would go in the exact opposite direction as everybody here. Because when I got the email from Sam, the first thing that popped to my mind was something I heard from Peter O'Toole. He was he was being interviewed, and he did all these sort of epics, and they talked about how it must have been fantastic to be at all these beautiful locations. And his response was how much he hated the outdoors, hated it. And what he said is that his idea of heaven is to walk from one smoke-filled room into the other. And I kind of like that, because I was just thinking, because I don't have that much experience with like formal tea houses, or at least preconceived tea houses. So I was just thinking about a place that I would feel the most comfortable, or the place that I had the best type of experiences. And it would be like that. Like I remember telling people my dream job for the longest time would be locked in the library basement researching all day. And usually the best tea experiences I ever had were these long, kind of intense conversations that were mostly academic. But the best part about those conversations was that when you drank tea and made tea, it was almost unconscious. Like a lot of tea ceremonies, it's very much about the tea, and it's about the equipment, and it's about the process and everything. But when you get sucked into a conversation that's that deep, you're brewing and drinking and almost not realizing it. So the idea was try to recreate that type of environment. So mine would be sort of like a dark, not dark, but it would be like a library, a place with just like, bookshelves from floor to ceiling. An almost somewhat intimidating type of place. But I think just the idea of walking into a place and all you think of is whiskey and cigars, and you come in and you're drinking really fine teas, I think just the novelty of that would probably bring people in.
I think that's a really good point. I mean, when I envision my tea house, I don't want it to be only a in place. I want it to be a place of engagement, for people to have conversations with people that they normally wouldn't. Tea for me, you have those conversations and those experiences because tea is a conduit for it. It lowers your almost your map and your walls. It kind of lowers them down a little bit because it's non-aggressive. Everyone's enjoying it. And then you start talking about politics, or start talking about art, or start talking about religion, or those are the type of conversations that I want people to be having around the people. And that is one of the things that I thought a lot about, trying to incorporate that to the European setting. How are we going to be able to make tea popular, not just the Gong Fu way, but like other new types of tea, sparkling teas, or to make it a funky, like a new way of seeing the beverage completely. No longer tea is like in a large teapot with and cucumber sandwiches like that. That I want that out of the window. I want a modern version of it. I want like Friday nights and Saturday nights to be opened at night for the public, to have jazz bands playing, people to be drinking tea out of wine glasses, and really like paying attention to the flavor and to the smell, and smoking inside, because everyone kind of drinks their teas and has like intense conversations. It's smoking. It doesn't need to be like the pristine place, but you can have different pockets and different corners that allows different art to be incorporated in the tea house. So I think that's a great point. Some people don't want to talk about the tea; they want to have connection with other people.
I think there are certain conversations that you would have with people like out on the street that become far too intense too quickly, and so they get out of control. But what you find is that if tea is somehow involved in the setting, you can have very intense conversations, very dynamic conversations without it ever getting too confrontational. because there's some.
Sorry, I was interrupted.
My signal's breaking up again.
So what if we built a tea house into a courthouse for legal mediation?
There we go.
Tea houses should be built in every public building.
And you create rehabilitation clinics. Tea as therapy.
Yeah.
You know, they're exploring all of these different drugs and the health benefits that they have. They're treating people with post-traumatic stress with MDMA and mushrooms and all of these types of drugs. And I think that tea is a psychotropic. Tea has that impact on people. Like, you see people that drink tea and are engaging in these conversations. They don't get too confrontational, because tea also increases almost your empathy. You're calmer, you are more pragmatic, you listen to what the other person's point is, and then you put on your, the contra argument. So it's more like a simple way of doing so. But tea is often what I call a forceful mindful exercise, because even if you don't want to be doing it, you are doing it, and it just has that impact on you. So the journey that you go, the introspective journey that you go through while drinking tea, can be really useful for places that deal with addiction and lack of connection.
Yeah. Because it's like a shared experience, because no matter what your viewpoint is, no matter what your stance is, the fact that you're all doing the same thing at the same time, enjoying it, just the shared experience of it kind of tempers everybody immediately.
Yeah.
You don't even have to be enjoying it.
I think because we lost so many of our... Sorry.
I think that might backfire, because if the argument turns to the quality of tea, then it might get a little too confrontational. So you make sure the quality is the highest first, and then go from there.
I loved your vision, Jeremy. I think it's great. I always enjoy my books. I'm such a bookworm, and I love my books with tea, always. Yeah. So I love your vision. Guys, I have to go. I have to say goodbye. I have to start with my patient. It was great to talk today. And see you next week.
Bye, Priscilla.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Also, I'm leaving. So it's been nice to join you today.
Thanks, Chris.
I hope to see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Chris, Jeremy, I'm sorry, your description painted this picture to me of the speakeasy basement with the gambling hall in it. Oh, yeah. That you knock on the door and have to know the password to get into.
There's actually a building I looked at, and this was about a year ago when I was sort of too early into it, about starting your own tea place. What it was basically it was an old bar. It was the employees' bar of a local distillery. It went out of business years ago. The distillery got converted into steel factory, but it was intact. So the bar was still there, fully intact. And the whole building has the history that the brothel was upstairs. Downstairs was the dark, dingy bar, long bar, probably the entire length of the place. And I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to keep everything as is and basically have it look like a bar, function like a bar, but we're going to serve nitro tea out of the tap, or sell growlers of, ambient brew tea. So everything about it would be a bar. It's just tea and coffee would substitute beer and wine. But the whole building had such a long history. That was a great idea at the time, but there was no way I would have secured funding or anything to do it. It was just out of curiosity looking into it. But to start with a building that has that much history, especially a very sinful history, and kind of play on that rather than sort of run from it or hide from it, like really focus on it. Because Terre Haute actually was the Sin City of the Midwest. It was called Sin City. We were the first, I guess, in the country because we were just far enough from Chicago and places where Terre Haute was a massive storehouse for bootleggers. And we were just far enough away from Chicago that no one cared what we did here. So Cherry Street, all the brothels, everything. My grandmother's aunt, she was Madame Brown. She ran all the brothels. Her husband, Eddie Gosnell, worked for Bugsy Malone and was his store warehouse. He was his warehouse keeper. So it has that history, and Terre Haute hides from it. I'm like, no, you got to do the opposite. You have to embrace it. It's very cool.
That's
so
awesome.
I knew my Uncle Mo.
Mm-hmm.
I had a great Uncle Mo who was in competition with the U.S. Mint. That they might have been in similar circles.
Probably.
That is so cool. You definitely need to have a tea house that embraces that past.
Yeah. And it's actually they're trying to rebrand this part of town as the distilling district in a way, because it was all the original distilleries were in this. So you now have this old style bar called Moggers, which is a great name. Then right next to it, you have the Terre Haute Brewing Company that restarted up probably only about 8 years ago. And you have right next to it, that building was supposed to be a distilling company, but the guy couldn't secure the license. He was going to make like artisan gin. But he and his partner couldn't get the license to make it. So they just sort of put it on the market, and the building has been sitting there. I think it's still sitting there because they refused to give it to anybody that would use it for any other purpose than a bar. But there was so much competition in like just a few blocks that no one would ever buy it as a bar. So obviously they're having a hard time selling it. He said the last offer they got was a landscaping company who wanted to turn the upstairs into offices and use the land to store all their equipment. And it was a good offer. He just said, no way.
I mean, turn it into an Airbnb. Upstairs where the brothel used to be, you can still rent a room. It just doesn't come with company anymore.
And you can still have
you got the bar with all the tea.
Yeah.
Or maybe it does have company. It's just a tea server,
Yeah.
Get your own private tea service.
Or you can have something that has mass appeal. Turn the upstairs into an arcade.
Yeah, Jeremy, I was gonna say, your dream tea house definitely needs to have an arcade in it.
Because there's 3 rooms upstairs and they're all interconnected. So you have the pinball room. There's sort of various themed rooms. So it's strange to convert a brothel into an arcade, but I think people would like that. It's like the story of that.
Well, if you want pinball machines and jukeboxes, my uncle is actually one of the best in the world of restoring them back in Portugal. And he basically, that was his hobby. And his whole garage and the whole basement, I think that he has like 50 pinball machines and jukeboxes that he's constantly just like people from all over the world send him the pieces for him to restore and build, and it's amazing. Like the things that he has there, the old jukeboxes is just. I would definitely go to that tea house, by the way, if we had pinball machines, tea downstairs. I'll be like, yeah, I'll be spending my day in here.
Just the idea, a tea bar.
Yeah, I'll dig it. I think that it's important for people to see how versatile tea is. Although I love the Kung Fu way, I think that nowadays, especially with the newer generations, they have in the last 10 years, the amount of non-drinkers has quadrupled. So the younger generations are actually not drinking alcohol, and they're looking for healthier alternatives. And tea, has all the health benefits, but it can also get you tea drunk, and it can be a sociable experience. It can still work as a social lubricant, and it can be served in completely different ways and be a substitute for alcohol, even when you're eating or pairing food with tea and serving it. Having that tea coming out of taps and having kombucha on taps or having sparkling teas on taps and doing all of these different ways that tea can be experienced. I think that's a way to create a new generation of tea drinkers, and they will expose to the different types of drinking tea. But if you introduce them to this amount of variety that tea can supply, that will immediately break with that perception that people have that tea is something that you do with your grandmother.
Yeah. I had someone that gave me a good idea. He said, what you should do is get together with the local restaurants, like right around the corner, and then like give them numbers. So basically all the designated drivers will be sent my way. And when their friends are ready to go, they just get sort of called from the restaurant saying, pick up your friends. So I will be, but at least the designated drivers have something to do and something to enjoy.
So it's like a DD daycare?
Yeah, pretty much.
Jeremy, your creativity and the way and the like kind of alternate direction that it goes from a lot of the discussions that we have never ceases to inspire me and make I love the way you think, dude.
Yeah,
I really do.
One other thing that reminded me when I lived in Scotland, there was the coolest. It was just a DVD shop. It didn't last, but it was great because what you do is you bring in a DVD, and for £1, you could swap it out for any DVD in the place. So the idea, if you would create like a tea room with that type of sort of business model that had that sort of second revenue stream, like you have books or whatever, you come in, as long as you swap it out with something decent, for a flat fee. So even if it just brings in that type of person or that type of customer, these are people that are anxious to have conversations or they want to talk about something.
That reminds me of you betting tea at blackjack, Elise.
Oh yeah, at Lightning in a Bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
What happened? Fine. No.
I mean, I'm gonna let Elise tell the story.
I forget what they're called. It's a true.
Crack.
What's that called?
Crack Blackjack, I think it was.
Yeah, and they travel to all the different music festivals and county fairs and set up a little shop. It's kind of like a trading post, and they have an old time blackjack table that interacts with the public, and then all of their goods are all just on shelves behind them, and they're really silly like improv actors that are like from the Old West or something, and they'll play cards with you, and there's no money involved. You have to bet something, and then they're gonna bet something of similar value to what you're betting, and then you just play a very simple, hand of cards. And so they'll even accept a shoe, or they'll accept, even something that's junk, but they're going to value something that's junk that they have, that they've collected in their travels, and exchange it with you. So yeah, I went one night and I took a bunch of tea. I think I took like 2 bags of tea, like big bags, like, not bulk, but, sizable bags. And I lost both of them, but that was the point. I wanted to lose them to them. So then when they are traveling or with someone else that comes up, they'll spread that tea out to someone new, So
somebody's going to see that tea on their shelves and be like, I want to play you for that tea.
So then they'll tell them,
oh,
it's worth this much. You'll have to bet something of this value. Could be a watch, or it could be, and it's usually like you go there with whatever you have and you just like improvise, and you give your sock away or something.
But now somebody gets to win that tea.
Yeah. So I wonder what happened to it. I don't know.
That's a very good way of spreading tea. Like, you don't know where it's going.
It's going to go somewhere. And that's why I donate tea at Burning Man, because I know that those spaces are really great spaces where people are receptive and wanting to learn more. And I mean, even the whole premise of going to Burning Man, there's lots of premises and lots of goals and activities, but overall, no matter what someone's initiative is in going, ultimately everybody's feeling like they're bettering themselves, or trying to acquire some experience or knowledge that'll help them be better people. That doesn't always happen, but that's like kind of the overall intention. And so even if someone is like out of their mind, party bender for 2 days, and then ends up at a gung fu table somewhere, they're going to receive that. And nothing breaks my heart more than seeing these people offering gung fu service that like their intentions are great, but like the tea they're serving is shit, and not in alignment with what the practice and sharing of gung fu cha is. So rather than tell them their tea is like that, and a lot of times it's just a matter of they have to buy the tea themselves, and that can be really pricey. So yeah, they're just gonna like take whatever tea they have, or crowdsource it among the camp, and it's not going to be great tea. Or there are some merchants that have made influence in those communities that have popularized very low quality market tea, specifically not aged but cooked pu'ers that are not good, that are cheap, and not embracing what that server is really trying to communicate.
Yeah, the good thing about Burning Man is that the probability of the people that are going to be exposed to your tea, they're already in some sort of journey, so they'll be open to the full effect that Gong Fu has.
Yeah.
And of course, the quality of the tea, that's super important.
Yeah, it is. It's really important. But yeah, there's no branding on it. I don't put any labels on any tea that I donate. It just goes, and I might put some brewing instructions, or sometimes I'll include like a little card that has information about the maker of the tea. But yeah, I'm really respectful of the cultural rules around commodification, although they're bullshit, because there's the 2 organizations that make the most money from Burning Man, and no one's supposed to make money from Burning Man, is the government and Walmart. And like, I'm sure every burner would agree that they freaking hate both of those things absorbing all the value from that experience. But
U-Haul and Amazon are probably getting pretty close to it now also.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, these companies are making money. They're adding value. They should make money. So like, we shouldn't stop burners, like honest, hardworking burners that could be offering that value and taking that value instead. Like, shame on any burner that's trying to, keep track of the value that they're adding to this system. let's all go to Walmart, or, you know, just order it from Amazon and let China
Right.
make it for us. It's like,
I think it's about being too realistic and too like, you know, you want something to be a certain way, but then as it evolves, you know, even the people that go to Burning Man are not the same. Now Burning Man seems to be like the new Coachella. It's like a popular place, and yeah, it just changes. I understand that they want to keep the same goals and the same values, but it's not represented in the actual event almost anymore. I feel like if you want to keep those core people engaged, and if you want to keep those core people as, you know, the reason why you're doing this festival is for community, is for art, is for the sharing experience. But if you're not almost like stopping them from creating those connections, because, you know, it's all fine and good that you can't sell things there, but if you put just a small label of your tea, I don't see that as being taking advantage of the system. I see that as spreading good tea and spreading knowledge of tea and allowing those people to then have access to amazing tea.
yeah. Different people have different perspectives on that. So
I can understand.
I just, I respect it all. It's good, you know, and, you know, people will share my name, you know, which is good enough, you know.
True.
And the key is this, the good tea, and hopefully whoever's serving it does read those cards of, you know, the tea maker and how it was made, and kind of share those stories, because there's value in that too, you know, not just in the tea, but of like sitting in that space and being like, oh, cool, this tea was made in India, and these were the people, and these are the struggles that they face, and yeah.
Mafalda, have you been to, I think it's called, is it Woodford or Woodward?
Yeah. So besides Burning Man, that is the second best festival that I've been to. And I've been to several, like around Europe. And I started traveling around Europe when I was 15 on my own. So I was like really into discovering weird festivals in the middle of nowhere. But Woodford used to be a pasture property. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. And in the last 30 years, they have done this festival, and is all very much community centered and very, very much on par with Burning Man, but they have permanent grounds. So all of the toilets and showers are like concrete cement floors and everything. They have like a system of buses that goes and picks up people from different bus stops in the camping areas, and they have beautiful stages, and they have a whole festival on the side for kids. So the parents drop the kids in to the festival and pick them up at the end of the day. So it's a really family focused and friendly event. There's music from all over the world. We were catching like music from all these different countries in Africa, and like in South America, and like tribes as well from North America, Australia. And it was very, very an amazing experience. It was a very submersive experience, but also you had access to so many cultures, and there was so much to do in the schedule. It was very beautiful, and art everywhere. You could choose the plants and the trees that were going to be planted in the property. It's all now, it's like the middle of a forest, and every single tree you can donate to plant it, and they will tell you what animals you would bring in, like flora and fauna, and it was all natives to the area as well. So they basically reforest the whole property using the festival. You can make bricks and write your name and do like drawings on it, and those are the bricks that are used for the path. So every year everyone in the festival actually helps it grow and establish itself more. It's really good.
That sounds cool. That sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like the principles of Burning Man, but with better camping and no dust storms.
Well, and it seems like more infrastructure for expressing the culture in kind of a closed system that is building upon itself. So like having activities like the whole concept of like building the infrastructure with everybody's participation, like Burning Man doesn't do that.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that I wish was there. Like Burning Man itself had more activities that exemplified the principles that, you know, were meant to be building a culture around. You know, it's just rhetoric instead of actually like having activities that actually show us and make us feel what that is.
I actually spoke to Brad about it because we were talking how amazing it would be if Burning Man had its own space like this. And I know that, you know, Burning Man gets to be like the second biggest city when it's on. It has more than 60,000 people coming from all over the world. It's huge. But if it could have a permanent place, it wouldn't have to pay the ridiculous fees that it pays to the government. It wouldn't have like the police dogs and the police just frightening everyone. It would have better facilities for water saving, you know, toilets and showers and all of that. Because a lot of people create so much waste to go to Burning Man because they have to have their own water, and it's all fine and good, but look at all the plastic that you just bought.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like for me, it was kind of, I wouldn't say ironic, but kind of defeating the purpose. It's like it would be so much better if facilities were provided. We could still leave no trace in terms of pollution, but this would actually reduce the amount of waste that is produced. 65,000 people buying plastic to contain water in, to last them for their whole time and to have showers with and all of that. Just the water itself, it's so much plastic.
Yeah.
Yep. And like, but at the same time, like that's the ephemeral nature of the fact that Burning Man disappears is there's definitely magic there.
Yeah.
But I totally hear you on the lack of sustainability around the consumerism that goes into building it. That definitely.
I think that there's so much focused on it, like no waste, no glitter, no feathers, all of those principles. Yeah. Then you go there and you see the other side, the amount of plastic that people brought in. And yes, everyone is walking around with their own cup and their own ashtray, which is fine. But I've seen a lot of people wearing glitter, a lot of people wearing feathers as well. You know, it's just, yeah, it seems like it's kind of defeated purpose or intention. With Woodford, all of the stages, all of the infrastructures are torn down. At the end of it is just the lavatories and the toilets and showers that are kept. So every year it's like a different structures, different locations. They do have restaurants and cafes. They are built in like the modular buildings or container buildings that are brought in and set up. So you can have like a proper breakfast with your family and then go and do workshops, and it's, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think that for people that want to have the Burning Man experience but can't really go to America, it's a good way to have that.
Yeah, ever since I found out about it a couple of years ago, and I found out about it because I was getting ready to go to Burning Man, and the web developer that I was working with at the time lived in Australia, and she's had like just gotten back from Woodford. So we were talking about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this sounds amazing.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
definitely like on the bucket list of places to go now.
Well, in the next 2 years, you have 2 years to come over, because then we're going back to Portugal. And we can do it together.
All right.
It starts on the day after Christmas, so the 26th, and then you spend New Year's Eve there. New Year's Eve is the last day.
Oh, neat.
Mm.
That could
So
be fun.
a lot of people actually spend Christmas there to get there early, and they have like proper set up camper vans, and people go to the festival for so many years. They make long-time friends, so they all go together and set up their own camps with like caravans and communal tables and communal kitchens. It's really good.
Does it take 12 hours to get in and out sometimes?
No, it's pretty well set up. There's a huge, probably as big as the grounds, there's the parking and camping spot. And then in the camping and parking spot, even if you don't have a bike, because there's lots of people and not a lot of space for the bikes, there's the bus system that goes around the camping and picks up people, and that runs 24/7.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter what state you're in at the end of the night, you can always get to the camp safely.
Well, as long as you can find it.
As long as you can find, definitely.
The transportation to get there, the transportation will get you there if you can navigate.
Yeah.
In describing that, I was reminded of something that I was like, when I was thinking about this prompt for today's talk, I was thinking, what is something, outside of all that infrastructure stuff I said I would want in my tea house. And I just remembered a really awesome, like, children's play area. Really important, because that's one thing whenever I have friends that come have tea with me that have children, I tell them, please bring your children, and I have like some toys. I keep things here to keep kids entertained, but there does get a point like into like the 4th or 5th hour of your tea drinking session that the kids start getting restless, and I don't want that to happen. So I want to make sure that there's like a really awesome space for them to like stay entertained and engaged with the tea, of course, Maybe
And
like
a nap room.
Yeah, a nap room, like a child's tea table, and like a jungle gym, So like the kids are begging the parents, hey, we gotta go to the tea house. Beat out McDonald's.
This was a fun prompt.
Yeah.
I woke up yesterday like, man, what the hell are we gonna do for tea talks? And then like it just like happened. That somebody Jen Brenner posted it in the Citizens Slack as like part of her like joining process, and I'm like, that's it. So
Cool. Where is she? Did you tell her about this? She didn't want to come?
I did. I may not have told her like as clearly as I should have.
Yeah.
So we'll get her in here next time. Like it was also short notice.
Yeah.
But I think I got to take off.
Yeah.
This has been an awesome 2-hour session, though. I'm like always amazed that how quickly time goes by sitting drinking tea with you guys, and really appreciate everybody's consistency for showing up for this. It's always a highlight of my week.
Yeah, it's been great experience. I'm always like telling tea people, it's like, are you going to tea talk? Come and join us. Like it's a virtual tea room. You can go with people from all over the world.
Well, thank you, Mafalda.
Yeah, thank you.
Pleasure.
Have a wonderful evening, guys.
Bye, Sam. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.